Hello, YouTubers, and welcome to Level-Headed News. This is your host, Brenda. I have 4 articles for you in this episode, and all the URLs are in the description of the video for your convenience. I have one here about North Korea. Been a little quiet since yesterday was Easter, and it's off of Liberty Writers, and it says, Easter Miracle. In the middle of North Korea fight, Mike Pence just did the unbelievable. Behind every great president, there is a great vice president. Tell you, they get not greater than Vice President Mike Pence. Today, even though it's Easter weekend and North Korea is threatening to attack Americans, Pence packed his bags, boarded his jet, and did the unthinkable. He flew straight to Korea for the weekend. Mike Pence is a man of faith and family, but even a high holiday like Easter cannot stop him from doing his number one: safe. Of course, his trip to Seoul, South Korea is just the beginning of his 10-day trip to Asia to secure our partnerships for the war to come. He has some major help in tow. For instance, President Donald Trump just managed to lock down China, North Korea. Oh, and did I mention the U.S. Navy Armada Trump stationed off the coast? Yeah, I bet that helps a ton. So I think anyone deserves a special prayer and a thank you this weekend. It's Vice President Pence. We know how important Easter is to him, but he keeps his priorities straight. So there you have that article. The next 3 have to do with immigration of Western journalism, and it says liberal senator is reminded that breaking immigration laws is a crime. 2 days after Attorney General Jeff Sessions reaffirmed the Justice Department will actually enforce the nation's immigration laws, Senator Dianne Feinstein, Democrat of California, tried to tell Sessions he was in the wrong. Users reminded her, however, that breaking immigration laws is actually breaking the law. Continue to seek improper and illegal entry into the country, be forewarned. This is a new era. Sessions said in a speech Tuesday during a visit to Nogales, Arizona, the abdication of the duty to enforce our immigration laws and the catch and release practices of old are over. Then Feinstein could stand. And she come back with, the Justice Department has limited resources. Attorney General Sessions is directing the department to shift its resources to criminalizing undocumented immigrants and prosecuting them under felony charges. This is not about improving public safety. This is about furthering a false narrative. Undocumented immigrants are dangerous criminals, she added in comments that were partially shared via her Twitter account. Back at Feinstein. A nation of laws should enforce the laws. One should not pick what laws to follow and not follow. Dianne Feinstein ticked that the nation's top cop intends to enforce the law. One commentator reminded Feinstein of a case she should know very well while taking her to task over the comment that Sessions' policy is not about improving public safety. Try telling that to the family of Kate Steinle, a beautiful young American citizen who was shot dead by an illegal alien in Sanctuary City, San Francisco, while on a walk with her father. That would make Kate and the Steinle family of Mrs. Feinstein, wouldn't it? On the Allen B. West website. The next article is off of Courthouse News Services, and it says Sanctuary Cities asked judge to block the Trump order. San Francisco, surprise, surprise. An executive order that could strip federal funds from sanctuary cities. Try that again. Good gravy. Fighting an executive order that could strip federal funds from sanctuary cities, a San Francisco city attorney on Friday urged a federal judge not to accept the Justice Department's new interpretation of the controversial policy. We cannot rely today on representations that the Department of Justice Counsel is making here, San Francisco attorney Molly Lee said during a hearing on a motion to block enforcement of President Donald Trump's January 25th executive order. Attorney General Chad Riedler argued the executive order does not empower the federal government to strip San Francisco of a potential $2 billion in funds, but rather applies only to a narrow subset of federal grants. Lee said that stance doesn't square with language in the executive order or public statements made by the president and Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Trump promised during his presidential campaign to defend sanctuary cities or jurisdictions that refuse to help federal authorities enforce immigration laws. As a U.S. Senator, Sessions supported legalization that would have denied federal funding to those jurisdictions. Issuing his January 25th executive order, San Francisco and neighboring Santa Clara County sued the president, calling the directive an unconstitutional abuse of power that threatens the sovereignty of local governments. His hearing on a motion for a preliminary injunction, Riedler said the executive order affects only a small category of federal grants issued by the Justice Department and Department of Homeland Security. Grants must be specifically tied to a law requiring jurisdictions not to restrict local coordination with federal authorities on the immigration status of individuals, he said. Grants is far less than the 1.2 billion plus 800 million in multi-year grants San Francisco receives from the federal government and the 1.7 billion Santa Clara County receives. Riedler told the U.S. District Judge William Orrick III, this only applies to a very narrow range of funding, he said. I'm not sure if any San Francisco funding here, maybe less than 1 million for Santa Clara. But John Kicker, representing Santa Clara County from the firm Kicker Van Nest, said Riedler's assurance appears at odds with a section of the executive order instructing Office of Management and Budget Director John Mulvaney to compile a list of all federal grants received jurisdiction. I didn't hear that the Attorney General or our president has signed off on this new interpretation, Kicker told the judge. What he said was DHS grants in the future may have conditions imposed. Constitutional. Riedler argued the executive order does not run afoul of any federal statutes or constitutional protections because it directs the government to take actions only to the extent permitted by the law. Hypothetical, Orrick pointed out how will not automatically shield an executive order from a constitutional challenge. If an executive order prohibited the sale of excess federal property to African Americans to the extent that it is in accordance with the law, that would be an unconstitutional order, Orrick told Riedler, who acknowledged that would be a difficult order to defend. Riedler also argued that San Francisco and Santa Clara County lack standing to press their claims in court because they have not yet been formally designated as sanctuary jurisdiction or funding. Kicker replied that Santa Clara County would face irreparable harm because it spends millions of dollars each day expecting the federal government to reimburse those costs for essential services it provides, including health care for its poorest residents and child protective services. Riedler assured the judge that executive order would not imperil federal funding for those essential services, despite the president's campaign rhetoric suggesting broader funding consequences for sanctuary cities and counties. Perfectly legal use of the bully pulpit, Riedler said. Dade County's decision in February not to embrace sanctuary status is evidence that the president's order is not just a bully pulpit because it constitutionally coerces local jurisdictions to bend to the will of the federal government. We just have to show a credible threat of prosecution, which I think we can certainly show with the express statements of the Attorney General, Lee said. We also have current injury because we are being pressed to change our local laws. After about an hour of debate, Orrick took the arguments under submission. The next article I have for you is off of Breitbart. It says National Immigration Law Center Executive Director says Sessions has a very clear white supremacist agenda. In this, if you want to pull it up and watch it, it says National Immigration Law Center Executive Director Elena Hincapie discussed illegal immigration Saturday on MSNBC's AM Joy. Said Attorney General Jeff Sessions, who earlier this week vowed the Trump administration would be tougher on United States-Mexican border security than previous administrations, has a very clear white supremacist agenda. We are deeply troubled, Joy, Hincapie stated. This is a situation in this country where a man who has very clear white supremacist agenda, a nativist agenda, is now an authority. He has the power now to use the Department of Justice to prosecute and criminalize immigrants. We are seeing that federal prosecutors, one of the top priorities is to detain and deport immigrants. And that's all I have for you in this episode, but I got a couple more episodes to follow. If you like what I'm doing here, media so everybody gets to hear the news, subscribe, stay informed. I'll see you in the next one.